Hi, it's Mike Rankin with Relational Advisors, and today we are going to talk about a little known corner of the benefits administration world. And I have with me today, I've got Amelia, Norma, and Leti. I like to refer to you guys as the dream team of benefits administration. And so specifically, we're going to talk about this ease to navigator transition, right? And so for those of you that don't know, there's a company called Ease. And if you have, 10 to, 200 or 300 employees, and certainly on the West Coast, you're probably using Ease for your employee benefits administration. So that's, adding employees, online open enrollment, all this kind of good stuff. Well, Ease was purchased by a company called Employee Navigator, and so we have spent the last 12 months or so converting all of our clients from Ease to Navigator. And as we were going through this, we started identifying these areas where, gosh, if I was an HR person, what do I really want to know? Like, what do I have coming up for me in this transition from Ease to Navigator? So we put together a few little topics, and I want to turn to Amelia first and just ask about, like, if you were, say you're in HR and you're getting ready to make this transition. Obviously, there's a lot of things that we do as the broker that maybe the HR team doesn't see, but as an HR practitioner, professional, what are kind of some of the first things that come to mind? Like if we're talking about, just even adding new employees to the system or administration, like what would be your advice?
Yep. So sometimes we add the employees on behalf of the HR team. So they do send us the employee information. So we request that. But other times HR users add the employees into the system. One difference that we did notice between Ease and Navigator is that in Ease, you were able to bypass that social security number, and that way when employees do register and log in, they are able to then enter their social security number. In Employee Navigator, that is required on the front end, so either the HR team or they send that information over to us and we enter it in the back end, but that is required when we are first setting up the employee.
Right, so if we had a group of 50 people and we were missing two socials in the Ease days, that didn't really matter. We could go ahead and do it, but in Navigator, that's like a hard stop. We need to fill in those fields.
Yep, and one thing also, they do have file integrations, which we'll kind of cover later on, but they do request that we don't enter any dummy socials in the system because we do get file errors.
Oh, interesting. Too. Okay, because that would have been like my immediate, well, just put in 55555,
right.
555. 5. How many fives? I don't know how many fives. But yeah, a dummy social. Okay. So no dummy socials. Correct. And need to get all that the employee information in there up front. Got it. So there's adding new hires, and then what about terminations?
Terminations are very simple as well. And in Ease, there was just one way to enter a termination, I believe, but in Navigator, you can do it from the group homepage. There's a section on the right where you just terminate the employee, or you can go into the employee record, update their status, and enter their termination date that way. Amelia mentioned the integrations. The one thing that is different between Ease and Navigator is that Navigator does require a termination reason. The reason for that is because in the integration that gets sent over to the COBRA administrator if you make that connection.
Yeah. And so it feels to me, just in generally, and from listening to you guys in your weekly meetings, that Ease was easy from the standpoint is it was a little more freewheeling, whereas Navigator is kind of locked down a little bit more. You can't take this step unless you have all this information. But then on the back end, it seems like with the integrations that Navigator runs more smoothly because it does have that sort of attention to detail.
Yes.
So we've got ads, we've got terms, and then we also have life events, right? So tell me about that, Norma.
Yeah, so an employee can easily go into their profile. It's just a click of a button. They select, make a qualifying life event. They make that update in the system. They can make those changes. And it's very similar to Ease, the workflow, as far as them making those changes. It will just prompt them through each benefit. And they can make those changes. And then once an employee completes that, then that will prompt into the homepage for the company. Okay. And you can see those. It will be listed under your to-dos or your things to do. and then you just go in and approve that qualifying life event.
Okay, great. Awesome. And then, so when I think about that, so that's, adding life events and terms, but even just getting the employees into the system, I think we've learned a few things there, right? It's just a little bit different. So what are some of the differences there?
Yes, so in Navigator, instead of having your company URL, the URL is the same for all Employee Navigator users. The difference being that the company has a specific company identifier,
Okay.
which is embedded in the registration email sent out to employees. But
Okay.
we have found that that's sometimes missed or overlooked. So that's a common question that employees do reach out to either us or the HR team for. So it's kind of just good to have ahead of time, just so we can either send an email blast before we send the registration emails out, especially if you're doing like a huge batch of new
Right.
hires, or if they're starting with the Navigator system new with open enrollment or what have you. So it's good to have that information handy just so that they know what to look for when registering.
Got it. So if I'm understanding it, like with Ease, there was a URL or a web address that had like usually the company's name in it, right? So that was almost the unique identifier, whereas under Navigator, it's the same web address, but then every company has its own code.
Correct.
And
Yep.
so a lot of times people miss that, or the employees will miss it, and they're like, hey, how do I log into this thing?
Right.
Got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, it sounds so simple, and we're using technology every day, but just, getting a little bit of a hang up in starting can kind of diminish the employee's experience or increase their frustration, which obviously we want to try to avoid that. Okay, so now we've onboarded them, they're in the system. What about navigation tips? Anything different there, Leti, from Ease to Navigator?
In Ease, there was a tab that the group could look at called To-Dos, which would be just a list of all the changes that happened for a period of time. The group could go in and see what happens there. In Navigator, they have embedded it in a wall. So instead of being
The
a
wall.
list of to-dos, they call it
Not
a wall.
the album from Pink Floyd.
Not that one.
Okay, all
no.
right, this is a different wall.
No, exactly,
Okay, all right.
completely different. So the wall shows the activities that happened, either system generated. If employee's address change came over through an integration, that would post to the wall. Or if, like Norma mentioned, qualifying events, an employee went in and initiated a qualifying event, that posts to the wall. That's just an information board that the group can look at to see all the activity that has been happening
Got it.
by their employees.
Got it. And so if I understand it as well, what's interesting is that's sort of automatic for the HR team, like they'll see their wall. But
Yes.
then we as advisors, we have multiple walls that we're looking at, but we have to
Yes.
remember to kind of bring those walls into our view, right? Or something along
Yes,
those lines.
yes. We also have a broker wall, as it is
Yep.
referred to, so that we can also see the changes.
Yep.
And just kind of have an eye on everything that's happening.
Got it. And then, so we've got the wall, but then also my understanding, Norma, there's a timeline tab or something?
Yeah. So in Ease before, in order to get information as to what, records were updated or what changes were made to an employee record, you'd have to run a report and then go to the report section, download that, and see what data was changed. But in Employee Navigator, it's really simple. You go to the employee record, you hit timeline, and it'll just give you all of the changes, all of the data that's been changed or updated.
Okay.
Yeah, and Employee Navigator is really easy, right? It does have different links. So let's say you can be on your homepage and you can view an employee from there. Or you can go to the employees tab and search an employee from there. So it's kind of really a lot of quick links within the system to get you to different places for you to navigate through to get to the same place, right? So you can do it from the homepage, you can do it
Okay.
from the employees tab or the reports tab.
Yeah.
So it's really easy.
And I'm
to use
sure
that
the
way.
more time you spend in it, you understand what role you're in and what you're looking at, but sometimes at
Exactly.
first it may not, might be a little more confusing. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, Amelia, you brought up something that sounds so simple and yet so important regarding saving your work in Navigator versus Ease.
Yes, so in Ease, it was very easy to override a lot of the data because you would go into a field, maybe accidentally key in the wrong number or letter, and you would click out of it and it would save it. You would overwrite it.
Right.
In Navigator, it's, again, very simple change, but very important. You are not able to override it that easily. You must click the save button in order for you to save any changes. So that's been very helpful.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Until you described it that way, I thought that the auto save was kind of this cool feature that saved you, but you could auto save bad information
Right.
accidentally, right? And maybe not even know that you did it, as opposed to a Navigator. Yes, you have to remember to do it, but it's like, you know, when I'm making changes to an Excel sheet that's complex, I mean, I'm always just hitting the save button, you know? So in Navigator, it's the same way, but at least that way you know when you're saving and you're not saving mistakes.
Yes,
Theoretically.
Or overriding information, because you could easily be
Oh, yeah.
in a social security number field and you hit a button and it just disappears and you don't know what the number was. And then you have to go digging into the system, like, okay, when did they originally set that up? And then it's just
Yes.
a lot of, you know, backdating.
Yeah,
or kind of-
forensics, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Got it. And so one of the, I think, the great developments of Navigator is along the payroll integrations. I know that, you know, at Relational, we use Paylocity and we have Navigator as well. And recently we've done that integration, which is pretty cool. It shows up right there. But integrating your deductions and your payroll, I mean, makes people a little nervous sometimes. And Leti is our resident payroll integration expert with your history and years of it. So what are some of the things that you've observed around the payroll integrations or things to look out for?
So Navigator definitely has a lot of more options for payroll integrations. More vendors are available to make that connection. One of the first steps is we have to be sure we have the right pay dates in the system, because obviously that'll impact the per pay deductions that the employee sees. So it's very important to make sure we have the right pay dates and the pay schedules. It's the first thing we have to get done in there. The other item that is a good thing to know when you do decide to complete the integration is that some of the payroll vendors will accept what they call a zero cost deduction, meaning that the premium is no cost to the employee.
Right, like the employer's paying 100% of the
Exactly.
employee or whatever. Yeah.
Some of the vendors will accept that and get the employer paid portion back into the payroll system. So it'll go from Navigator to the payroll system. But a lot of the vendors don't accept the employer contribution. So they will just see that there's no cost to the
Like
premium.
as a zero, yeah.
And they won't note the employer contribution. So that's one thing when you are considering the integration, to determine whether that will flow over seamlessly from Navigator to the payroll vendor, or if it'll be a manual process
Yep.
afterward.
Got it. Okay. And obviously, if an employer is watching this and they have XYZ payroll company, they could just reach out to us and we can say, yeah, here's, you know, these are the vendors that they integrate with and all that. But it's really
Exactly.
all the biggies, right? So,
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we've brought employees into the system. We know how to make the changes. We know how to integrate the payroll. I'm oversimplifying the last 12 months of your life quite dramatically. But then we want to do reporting and we want to get some data out of the system. What are some of the tips and tricks around that, Norma?
Yeah, so Employee Navigator really has taken a lot of the commonly used reports and kind of updated them or pre-populated them into Employee Navigator. So you just click to select the report that you want to run. But they also allow you to save templates, right? So I think that's really great. If you run the same report on a monthly basis and it's not one of those pre-populated reports, then it does give you the capability of saving a template. You choose the fields that you want to select, and then you can save that template. And then once you go in, you know, every week or every month, however often you run that report, it's very easy to go in the system, run the report, the pre-populated fields or the fields that you want to select are already populated, and just run that report.
Okay.
One thing is that we have kind of noticed, right, is it includes all employees. So if you want only active employees, you want to make sure that you exclude all those terminated employees.
Okay.
The report will populate all employees there.
Right. Got it.
Yeah. So, they also are constantly making changes. Employee Navigator is constantly making changes. So one thing that they have done too is if there is a report that is constantly used, we can reach out to Navigator, and if they have so many requests, they'll go ahead and update that.
Oh, okay, and
Yeah,
make it one of the canned reports. Okay.
Exactly, one of the reports that are kind of pre-populated there.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah, that's helpful. So if I'm in HR and let's say my CFO wants a certain report at the first of each month or whatever, and it's maybe a little different than what I'm used to doing, I can go in, save that template as a custom template, and then I name it whatever, CFO report, whatever I want to name it.
Correct.
And then that way I just go in and run that and ship it off. Okay.
And then
awesome.
you can also share that template. So if there's somebody else on your HR team that you want to have access to that template in case, you're on vacation or you want them to continue running that report at some point, you can share that template and they can save it also on their end. And so they can just access the template as well.
Well, that's helpful. Fantastic. All right, so if we go back and we look at, I want to say probably 18 months ago, right, when we had at that point, I think we had 60 or so ease cases and we had 0 navigators, and we went to the training and the conference and all of that. And so fast forward today, how many ease cases do we have left, do you think, Amelia?
Left to move over?
Yeah.
I think probably 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And then they've technically been moved over. We're just finalizing some changes.
Okay,
So
great.
hopefully
So
we're
we
done
are
with
we
ease
are
pretty soon.
98% of the way
Correct,
there.
yeah.
Okay, awesome. I've run into some other brokers, friends of mine and so forth, and they have 100 cases and they're still all with ease and haven't moved them over yet, which is a little scary, I
Yep.
would think. So I'm very glad to be where we are, and thank you guys for all of your hard work in doing that, and it's been a ton, I know. Okay, well, there you have it. We have our tips and our tricks, and so if you have any questions around your upcoming transition from Ease to Navigator, be sure to reach out to those of us at Relational, and we will help you as best we can. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.